Good morning, everybody, and a happy Friday morning. We have some royal family news, but basically, finally, the full story has come out as to what was the final nail in the coffin for Harry and Meghan and their Netflix deal. I should have seen this coming. I kind of missed it, but there's a lot. Let's jump in. Let's get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off this morning with King Charles and Queen Camilla. They attended the annual Sandringham Flower Show. They apparently arrived in a carriage that, believe it or not, was once owned by Queen Victoria. There were a lot of people along the route. They waved at everybody, but they looked very relaxed. But of course, they were carrying umbrellas because the UK weather, I was told, can turn on a dime. Apparently, it's been dubbed the country's biggest church event because there's over 200 trade stalls, a craft marquee, terrier racing, motorcycle displays, forestry, baking, and produce competitions. Now, Charles and Camilla were handed some absolutely gorgeous flowers, and then they worked their way down to where all the events were taking place. The show was founded more than a century ago to encourage tenants on the royal estate to care for their gardens, but of course now we know it's grown into a major celebration. It usually draws crowds. It's being reported of about 20,000 people, and the king, who we know loves horticulture, is said to look forward to the event. Apparently, there were a lot of well-wishers behind what they call crash barriers waiting to meet Charles and Camilla. People were shouting messages, good for you, with his ongoing cancer treatment. And we know that he missed the event last year. So one of the stands they went to, they had these medical detection dogs. They're in training. And so, of course, Charles and Camilla went over, how they love animals, petting the dogs. You know what's funny? They had a little joke going on there because somebody said while he was there, "We missed you last year." And one of the women yelled out, "Good to see you back, praying for your good health." And when that was said to Camilla, she knocked on her head and said, "Knock on wood," or touch wood. Anyway, Camilla left with a stuffed dog that looked like the medical detection dogs. One of the stops, and again, these may not be in the correct order, but one of the stops, and I wouldn't even call it a stop, but there was military there, and Charles went over to look at the military. Now, one of the next things happened that was really funny. Apparently, Charles met a man who was behind one of the crash barriers, and apparently he showed that on his legs, he has tattoos. His name is Mr. Smith, and he showed his legs off. Interesting, he has a cipher for Camilla, he has a cipher for Charles, a joint one for the two of them, and even one of Queen Elizabeth. He said, "I love the royals," and he apparently has corresponded with Camilla and says she frequently responds, and I waited to see her to show her my latest tattoo. Hey, if he's a royal fan, why not? Now, of course, when that was over, the two of them were seen walking into one of the show tents. Now, in these tents, apparently they had fruits, vegetables, flowers on display. That was right up Charles's alley due to his love of horticulture. Very interesting. They asked Camilla if she likes to grow her own vegetables at her, that Ray Mill house, which is her home. And Camilla said, "Oh, yeah. I really do enjoy it. I'm very proud of my vegetables. It's the best therapy in the world," which, gardening is supposed to be very therapeutic for people. It looked like they were having a really good time. And eventually they stepped out of the tent where they were greeted by more people and saying hello, etc., etc. Now, this is the last major royal engagement for Charles and Camilla before they head off to their Balmoral estate in Scotland for their summer holiday. Now, interestingly enough, Trump is going to be going to Scotland apparently later this month to visit his golf course. And while it was initially suggested that there could be an informal meeting between Charles and President Trump, it was nixed. So the president will not see King Charles until he comes back to the UK in September for his state visit at Windsor. Next time we see Charles and Camilla will be the 80th anniversary of VJ Day. And off they went to bagpipes. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us what Camilla was wearing. Let's move on. Next up, we're going to move on to Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh. She visited the Northampton Bike Park. She met local volunteers, school groups, and key partners. This is a state-of-the-art facility that is transforming lives through sport and community engagement. It was £750,000, and it has become a hub for cyclists of all ages and abilities. So Sophie toured it. She met volunteers, school groups, partners behind the project. Of course, there was a plaque uncovering. This is right up her alley. We know how much she likes to cycle. All right, let's continue. And next up, we have Edward, Sophie's husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Edward. He attended the British and Irish Para Badminton International 2025 at Sport Wales National Centre in Cardiff. There isn't much in the way of pictures, unfortunately, but we know he was there. You know, if pictures show up later, I'll show them to you. But as usual, another event that wasn't really covered. And the same with Princess Anne, who was in Henderson's Relish in Sheffield with Dolly Maud, who is Princess Anne's lady-in-waiting and one of Zara Tindall's closest friends. But once again, very low on the pictures. I feel like Anne and Edward and Sophie, again, I've said this before, they work so hard, and I feel like they're not really getting the recognition that they should be getting for all the work that they do. All right, let's move on. Next up, a big thank you to Jen on Twitter for pointing this out. Catherine is in this magazine that's basically pointing out that Catherine and William have other things to think about. And until Harry stops and apologizes publicly, forget it. Nobody's getting back together. One of the things this article says is where once Kate might have been the peacemaker, because remember at Prince Philip's funeral, she encouraged them to talk and have a private conversation, and then she held back when they walked out of St. George's Chapel. They're saying her focus now is on her family after everything she's been through. What the article also says is that Catherine and William have put aside all of the drama from Harry and Meghan because they have more important things to think about, which I think is absolutely correct. All right, let's keep going. All right, next up, Prince William is heading off to Switzerland on Sunday. He's going to be attending the final of the Women's Euros. The Lioness is either going to go against Spain or Germany. We don't know which yet, obviously. Now, of course, nobody's going to miss this opportunity to attack the royal family. So King Charles congratulated the Lioness on social media, and he put up a picture, and one of the players from the team who scored a goal is missing from the picture. And so all of a sudden, everybody's disappointed, and it's terrible. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God. The man can't even congratulate soccer people. Telling ya. Moving on, it appears that Meghan and Harry are trying to change the narrative of what's going on with all of their deals. Again, they lost Spotify, they've lost Lemonada, Netflix is cutting them off. So what do you think is going to happen next? Harry and Meghan, facing the humiliation of all of this, are putting out the narrative that they're going to sign a first look deal as soon as the exclusive deal ends. And this is what former President Barack Obama has done. You know, their production company has a similar deal with Netflix. Basically, you don't get any money up front. You have to come up with the idea, pitch the idea, and if Netflix likes it, then possibly you might get some money, if that makes sense. I mean, they have to save face by saying something. Let me remind you guys that supposedly Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos is really good personal friends with Harry and Meghan. He regularly dines with them. He said that Meghan is a rock star, that people underestimate her. What's going on in popular culture. If she likes something, it sells out immediately, which personally I haven't seen that. I mean, everything is falling apart. In case you guys didn't know, Lemonada was bought by a Swedish company, Pod X. Maybe her podcast stopped because they didn't want her, because they know that she's, like box office poison. You know what I mean? And I'm still wondering what's going to happen with As Ever. Does she get to keep it? Does Netflix take it? Like, what's going to happen? And I'm asking because for those of you who don't know, the story coming out is that the final nail in the coffin for Harry and Meghan was that the As Ever products didn't take off and her wine isn't selling. We know that Meghan has fallen out of favor with the A-listers. Nobody in Hollywood wants to be around them. So Netflix steps up and is working with Meghan to launch and promote her products, but they're not selling. But the final nail in the coffin, they're saying again, is the wine. Let's be honest, we never knew how many bottles she had, how many sold, how quick it sold. It was apparently a very small batch, which means that as ever only produced a very small quantity. People had to buy a minimum of 3 bottles, but what they're saying is there's no demand for her wine from a mass market point of view, which means no supermarket deals, no department store deals. Get it? Now remember, 2025 was billed as the year they were going to relaunch, but what's happening is people are sick of them. They put out that twerking video. There's absolutely no consistency. People are bored. Now she's gone silent. What's being said is that the Netflix executives are well aware that Meghan's priority is her own brand, and they're not going to play second fiddle to that. You don't even hear about Archwell anymore. They've given up the whole pretense of philanthropic work. It's solely lining their pockets at this point. Now, what's being said is that they're running out of options about who will work with them in the future. Well, I have a theory as to what Meghan's been doing. She also made friends with Tracy Robbins. Here they are in Jamaica at that movie premiere in January. She is the wife of the CEO of Paramount. She was in Meghan's show as ever. She's also one of Meghan's quote unquote close friends. They play mahjong together. She's the one who put up on her Instagram about Meghan's Riviera Orchard Jam. So I think maybe she's hoping Paramount's going to give her a deal. I have to tell you, in my opinion, I believe they're going to go to their last resort, which is the children. I believe they're going to start using the children. They're going to try to produce another show, and they're going to put it out there thinking that in this economy, everybody's going to want to see them living like billionaires. And I think it's going to be a fail. Now, one more thing, there's a rumor going around that the reason that Harry and Meghan's person, Meredith Maines, was caught on this balcony, and this was a complete setup, was because Meghan was trying to prove to Netflix that they could still get in with the royal family and get news from the royal family. And then, of course, this blew up. The king was furious, and that was the end of that. All right, let's move on. So I've told you already, they've attacked the king, they're attacking William, talking about Anne, saying she said things about the family. So now they're attacking Catherine's mother, Carol Middleton. Talk about digging up old stories. So here's the thing. She designed Sarah Ferguson's ivory Duchess satin gown with the 17.5-foot train. We know all about this dress. We've seen it. And it's been 4 decades since she designed this dress. She had her own design company, Linda Kirak, I think you say, Couture, in 1979. Now remember, she's a designer who's designed for the Queen Rania of Jordan, Catherine Zeta-Jones, and she doesn't discuss disputes. But suddenly, she wants to discuss a dispute that happened well over 10 years ago with Carol Middleton. So apparently Carol asked her to design an outfit for William and Catherine's wedding. She selected this woman. She spent 4 months attending fittings, and then she ditched the outfit in the 11th hour. Now there's a reason for that. So this is the story this woman's putting out now. She said that Carol Middleton asked her to deliver the outfit unfinished to her home so she could show it to her friends. And this woman would not allow the garment to leave her studio unless she went with it. And so at that point, Carol Middleton said, "You're not accommodating enough and I don't want to wear the outfit." So the designer said she was left surprised by the request and bemused after all the hard work she put into creating the outfit. Personally, I think this story is coming out because 12 years ago, this woman teamed up with another woman and founded a place called the Sister Sound Circle, which is, quote, a sacred space celebrating and supporting women in the community. She said, I used to get drained by being with difficult people, but now, no. I have to tell you, I feel like Harry and Meghan's strategy has changed. So instead of attacking the family from the United States, they're now attacking the family from within the UK. Does that make sense? Their people are there. James Holt lives there now. And I feel like this is another coordinated attack against the royal family. Why else would you dig up this 10-year-old story? I mean, what would be the exact point of this? All right, the next thing, I told you guys that Channel 5 was doing a special about the lip reading, and they actually caught Harry and Meghan discussing Megxit back years before they announced it. Shocking stuff, which just goes to show you got to be careful in public. Watch this.
They said in a conversation at a remembrance service in 2018.
Meghan leans into Harry, and I believe that she's saying, take advantage of this situation. And then she pauses and just looks around and turns back to Harry, and he responds back to her and says, today.
This is utterly explosive. And what the lip readers have uncovered here is, well, it's history in the making.
Meghan is now directing the conversation in a way that she appears to be instructing him. She actually says to him, do it tonight. And she looks away as if she's visualising a scenario unfolding, and she's processing what she just said. Harry leans into Meghan and goes on to say, you do realise that this is the end? And Meghan responds, yes, I do know.
The conversation that they are having is really intriguing. When I think of what happened only a couple of years later, they stepped back as working royals in 2021.
So there's no doubt it was planned from the beginning to leave. Ugh. All right, let's move on now. You know, we all heard that Prince Harry said there's no point in continuing to fight because life is precious. But of course, now we all know all their business ventures have unraveled. Her branding is unraveling. They've had nothing but personal and professional disasters. And so now they need to run home. That's really what's going on here. There is an unprecedented staff turnover rate. Harry has lost his entire family. He wants back. But now with all the damage he's done, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to go back. They've had brand flops. Her podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, did not do well. Spotify didn't renew. Lemonada. All of Harry's patronages that he wanted to keep. Santa Bale is gone. African Parks is in turmoil. Meghan's even taken over Invictus. She just prances around in very expensive clothing. They've been slammed on both sides of the pond. No A-listers want anything to do with them. People avoid them like the plague. Even the American media has attacked them. We've seen it in Vanity Fair and in some of the other magazines, which is why I believe they're now attacking the royal family back over in the UK. All right, I'm going to keep an eye on this story, you guys. Oh my goodness, I want your comments. Make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell. Go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon, and a link to my Amazon wishlist, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.